did you know goldenrod makes an excellent tea?
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Aaron.
Me. You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Or what's inside. You suck. Finally, we're going to reveal the... Hey everybody, welcome back to Tomic's veteran of the comic book industry for 30 years, I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and this sucks.
Episode Betrayed.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Woo! Let's go!
She cooks nothing but chuck wagons, stew, and her name is Minerva. Ouch! She's the flower of the devoured coach.
Howdy, folks. I am like clockwork, or as regular as a evil chick trying to stick a knife in your back. Yes, I'm here even on... They don't even let you say the word anymore, right? Because they like sue you or shut you down. You have to say the big football game. So even though it's going on right now, and admittedly, I am recording it just in case it turns out to be worth watching, and then I can fast forward through the halftime show and all the Taylor Swift shots. But I want to thank you guys for joining me. We have a good crowd. I know everybody's not a football fan, and certainly not everybody's a Taylor Swift fan. Some of us are a little too old for that. But thank you for being here, because we need to push on. We need to show the world that there's other forms of entertainment. No matter how low on the totem pole of entertainment this may be, that we're still out there representing, even against the juggernaut that is the big football game, or whatever we want to call it. As you can see, I'm flying solo. Shelley and I went to see the grandbaby yesterday, spent all day over there. And of course, we held the baby and all that kind of stuff. We also cleaned the house for her, helped clean the house and cooked and things to kind of, our weary kids, give them a little break from their 24/7 monitoring of their new child. So Shelley is just out of it. She was going to try and rally, but the body just said, nope, I'm not going to do it. So hope always springs eternal that we'll have Shelley here next week, because she is the co-host. But when she's not here, it's just me, and you're just going to have to suffer through it. Let's see who's joining us today and ignoring the 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Corum is here. Bring on the old comics, cryptids, rock albums, and Howard Pyle. Absolutely, dude. What a combination. That's everything, but not... That's everything that's going to... Everything just mentioned there is going to be on this show, but that's not all. Let's see. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick, of course, is almost always here. Barb Rogers says, hey, Comicsgate, with a heart. I think that's a heart. Is that a heart? What is that? Even my glasses, that's not a heart. It's like a flame or something. I don't know. Anyway, but then Barb turns around right after that and says, Aaron, here's a $5 super sticker. Thank you for that super sticker. I have to go back into the why they don't show the super sticker right there in the chat is beyond me, but I have to actually go search for it. So I will look for it at some point, but thank you, Barb. I appreciate that very much. Past Master Dan is your creative Faye. Says, sounds like a good lineup to me. Well, I think it sounds like a good lineup. It's very diverse. We're all about diversity. That's how we do DEI here at Aaron Live, is we diversify the subject matter, but you still get the cis white male host. Sorry. I don't even know what that means. Cis. What does that mean? I don't like the sound of that. I'm a manly white male. Anyway, excuse my voice. I'm on some medication. That's what happens when you get old. You take medication and then your voice sounds terrible. Helder 6480 is here. Pantheon is here. Barbara Paulson, extending greetings to both Shelley and I. I will extend those to her. She usually watches the show in reruns when she misses it, so she can critique my performance. Caleb Reynolds is here. The Golden Schnitz. Let me try that again. The Golden Snitch 7 is here. Kevin Thomas, all the way from across the pond. He goes, is this Aaron's personal picks for albums? Yes, it is. I'm guessing there's at least one Captain and Tennille album on there. Get Pete on to talk cryptids, especially King Cryptid. Kevin, your wish is my command. Pete Samedi will be joining us next week. He's slotted in. And the amazing thing is I do not schedule people for this show. I wait till the last minute. And then that's why we hardly ever have guests. But Pete got a hold of me. He says, hey, man, can I come on? I said, Pete, of course you can come on. So Pete will be here next week. Okay, Captain Bipto is here. He says, who the hell is Howard Pyle? You're going to find out, my friend. Let's see here. Heron the Steadfast is here. Nordic Nerd, of course, making the trip in. Citizen Ronan is here. Creative Faye is answering your question in the, she's a teacher, I believe, and a student of art. So listen to Creative Faye. Angela Curry's here. How about that? Early. What do we got here? Citizen Geek Avengers here. H is for Heretic. Squeaky is here because where Geek is, Squeaky is usually close behind. Marcus Killer Group, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, is joining us. We'll be able to see if when I bring out some oldies and goodies, just how much Marcus really knows. We'll test it. Ronan is here. Bigfoot did the national anthem, but the footage is pretty grainy somehow. Interesting. Where are we at here? Mike McMahon, Holy Hand Grenades. I like to include Iodine 74. I like to include everybody, make you feel at home, like you're welcome here. Richie Dupe is here. Squibs is here. How about that? Spambot made it in. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. Kettle Black is here. Mark Pengrin is joining us. That's always a good thing. Eric Boyd is joining us. Leg Kick. $2, as old as clocks. I'm sure that's referring to something funny, and it might have been funny 5 minutes ago, but fails to register now. But thank you for the $2. Appreciate the effort. Let's see here. Eric and Boyd says he used to enjoy football. Yeah, the more I am a big NBA fan too, and it's just like whenever they do this woke crap and they push that stuff, it just annoys me so much. Like it's hard to watch, and they're all doing it. But of course, they're never going to lose their audience. The NBA might a little bit because they always go up and down. The football, I mean, that's like gladiator stuff. That football is like what the Romans got in the arena, back in the 1st century or 2nd century, I don't know how many centuries they did the arena thing, but with gladiators and stuff. But that's what football is for this modern audience. And we love the violence. And so I don't think it's ever, regardless of what they do, no one's going to stop watching, except us right now as we're doing the show, because when we talk about art, when we talk about comics, when we talk about pop culture, that's where we're at. That's our number one choice. Sports, I'll push them over to the side. Andy Delph is here. Delph, excuse me. He says he hasn't watched the circus in a few years, of course, referring to the football game. There's Robert Doan's Pills. No Madaman is here. Tarks9 made it all the way from Canada. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. Jay Dredd is here. Let's see. Who am I missing? Anybody? Bueller? Yeah, Matt Madaman says the last bowl he watched was the Bears missed a field goal, I think, versus the Eagles, whenever that was. It was a while ago. LECG4 my PP is here. Man, you guys. Alan Smith is joining us. Thank you, Alan. Repairman Jack, there he is. Tim Elf is here. Tim F is here. Paul Taylor, our resident biologist, making it back in. I haven't seen Paul in a while. Maybe I just missed him in the chat and he was hiding in there. We'll be looking at cryptids today, so we'll need his expert opinion. Buddha Bear is here. Wizard Sleeves is here. Gary Martin's favorite name in the chat. Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven is here. He says, Dad is home. I'm cooking dinner. I'll be back shortly. Good to hear that his dad is back from the hospital. That's great news, Lewis. Who else we got here? The Romans used to use spikes. What does Paul says? I missed it. It was there and I missed it. Gosh darn it. Now I lost it. He said the Romans used to use spikes. I believe that. Lions didn't make it, so not interested. They should have made it, though. They choked that game away, just in case anybody's paying attention. Angela Kerr, $5. How about that? Thank you so much. Aaron, in the chat, drop down. You can select live, top, or fan funding to see the sticker. It's handy. Aaron, in the chat, drop down. You can select live, top, or fan funding. Can I? Yeah, I'll figure it out later. I'm not seeing everything that you're suggesting there. Aaron Louviere is here. Let's see. Holy Hand Grenades is here. My niece told me that if Taylor Swift is in the halftime show, she will turn the game off. I bet her $1 she would make an appearance. I doubt she'll be dropping in on the actual performance, but we're going to be seeing her quite a bit up in the old press box, I would guess, if they haven't shown her 100 times already. Paulus Arts is here. How about that? I think we got just about everybody. If I missed you, Ferris Comics, there you are. Henry Bemis, all the way from Oregon. So, no, I didn't, Henry. I just got you. He's saying, he ghosted me. I did not ghost you. Okay, so here we are. We got a show to do. I don't see why there's any reason why we shouldn't move on with the show. And the first thing we're going to do is something we haven't, I don't know if we've done this in a while, because I've had some guests. I've missed some weeks. I was at a show last week, and then before that we had JC Vaughn. And when I have a guest, the show it's always ends up being an interview and, talking about whatever the guest is there for. So we don't do the regular bits as much. So we're going to get back to the regular bits this week. And here's one of them that's one of my favorites.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Stippling Vaughn, or I was going to say Vaughn. Stippling Vaughn. He gifted me for my birthday a Trader Joe's card. And I went to Trader Joe's. Now, I got to admit, I've been, because I put on like 10 pounds from Thanksgiving through my birthday. I was like, I got to get off the carbs. I got to get off sugar. And so I've been pretty good about that. But oh my gosh, I took my mom to the doctor, my 92-year-old mother, just for a regular checkup. And right across the street from the doctor is this donut place. So I always get her, we take Nana to the doctor. You got to get her a treat. So I got her some maple bars. And yeah, I ate one. And then we ordered pizza. Oh my gosh, like from an Italian restaurant here called Giovanni's. Oh, it's so good. But it's like thick, bready crust. And I've been downing, and no one eats it because it's too bready. I'm eating this whole freaking pizza over like 3 days. So I've just been carb loading to the point of being a disgusting human being again. So I bought something that was all protein and fat, but no carbs or sugar. And so we got this at Trader Joe's. This is like a Roltini, mozzarella, and prosciutto. I love this stuff. They're expensive. Oh. I would rather eat, I know I'm going to get clipped on this. I would rather eat salami and cheese than sugar. Anything with sugar in it. I mean, oh my goodness. Never eat on camera because it's gross. Hey, there's Devil Flyer. He's here. Oh, you're right. I did. I'm sorry, Kevin. Kevin is not from England. Kevin Tomset is. This is Kevin Thomas from down south. Now we got that cleared up. I feel bad that I missed geographic you. Is that a thing? It probably will be. Lizard Sleeves, hope your diet doesn't affect your drawing. No. See, being 6'2" helps me carry a few extra pounds without looking like I'm carrying a few extra pounds, but I know, and it hurts. And I'm pointing at my heart because now I got to start thinking about stuff like that. He says no chocolate for SummerCon. Okay. I'm not going. I don't think I'm going. There's another creator there who's going. That's has spent time trying to cancel me out of other shows, and I just don't want to be around him. So, plus I don't want to drive up there 5 hours, but you never know. Maybe I'll change my mind. Okay. Speaking of manly men, I don't know that we necessarily were, but let's take a look at the Frazetta image of the day. And this is interesting, and it does apply to. Well, I'll make a point of it somehow. Anyway, check your monitors. You'll notice the Frazetta image of the day is longer than the Wrightson image of the day because it gives me more time to finish my snack, which I didn't do because it was pretty good sized. But man, that was good. So while you other saboteurs are sending me like pickled watermelon rinds and stuff, Stippling Vaughn sent me a card which turned into that, which I'm maybe forever grateful for. Okay. What did we just look at? What you just looked at was a Frazetta cover from 1955 he did for EC Comics. Now, originally, that cover was meant for a series called Famous Funnies. Now, these weren't ECs, but it was originally drawn to be a Buck Rogers cover. Okay, and if you'll notice in the drawing that I just had up on there, not this one, but the one we just showed, the guy with the club that was clubbing the cavemen had a helmet on, kind of a funky space age helmet. That was Buck Rogers. Okay, well, I think Frazetta did about 8 or 9 covers for this run. This is the only one I have. These things are so freaking expensive now, but so I'm quite happy to own this, but it wasn't cheap. This is actually one of my top 3 favorite covers in his run. But anyway, that cover art was originally supposed to be for this run of Famous Funnies. Now, I don't remember exactly why they didn't end up using it because, they went a different direction. They went with a different artist. That was it, whatever. So he took that cover, removed the helmet, like he could just take it off, removed the helmet or did a patch, whatever he did, and Just gave the guy like blonde hair, but took the Buck Rogers helmet off. And then it got used by EC Comics for Weird Science Fantasy number 29. And so that's how that cover was originally a Buck Rogers cover, but then turned into the cover that ended up being for Weird Science Fantasy number 29. That's why you come here, because I tell you stuff just like that. B-Spin says, ask Aaron if he's seen any eagles lately. I don't even know what that means, but no. Occasionally we see him around. I've seen like one bald eagle. We can see brown eagles. I'm not going to say a lot, but if you get away from town a little bit, you can see the brown eagles. So you don't see bald eagles very often at all. I've seen one, I think, flying around here. So, okay. Like he says, Ethan says he's going. If Ethan actually goes, that might be fun watching. Gig Avenger for $2. Thank you so much. Says Aaron LaPrestivius was going to SummerCon. Okay. We'll see. I mean, that's cross country for him. Rick Johnson for $5. Thank you so much. He says, Aaron, can't wait for my Kit Carter. Is this your first kit book or are there others? Hope Shelley is doing great. Love you guys. Thank you so much, Rick. Yes and no. Kit Carter was originally a newspaper strip. I mean, it wasn't a newspaper strip, but it was designed to be like a newspaper strip. And the first, guys, help me out, 14 episodes. Those of you who bought Wraith of God Blood Hunters, that's got the first 14 episodes of Kit Carter, and each page is an episode. So it's the first 14 pages of Kit Carter. It's not necessary reading for the Kit Carter graphic novel, but it does kind of shed a little bit of light on the beginning of the story in Kit Carter graphic novel, where she fights Schmagma, the lava man. So what I'm saying is, if you haven't read Wraith of God, you should pick it up. You can get those from me. They're still available. The Wraith of God #1 second printing is available. Just email me. And Wraith of God 2 is also, Blood Hunters is also available on the Kit Carter campaign. So if you back Kit Carter, but you haven't read Wraith of God, you might want to check that out, because that actually has a backup story of Kit Carter in there that would lead you into the graphic novel. But this graphic novel is the first standalone Kit Carter project that I've published. So there you go. Thank you guys for all those super chats. Appreciate it very much. Rick Johnson says, I bought Wraith of God, haven't read it yet. Okay. So yeah, you'll see it in the Blood Hunters, the second issue. You'll get the backup story that'll lead you into Kit. So you're covered. Jeff Potts says, we got bald eagles up here in Michigan. I see them now and again heading up to my mother-in-law's house. Jetto Janga, Wraith of God NASCAR coming soon? Probably not. I'm not a NASCAR fan. I don't have anything against it, but you're watching cars drive around. Although Ford versus Ferrari, I thought was a great movie. I mean, one of the great movies I've seen in the last 5 years, or whenever it came out. Everybody's got bald eagles. I mean, they're around here, but you have to go like into Eastern Oregon, which is less civilized, more wilderness, a lot of lava beds and stuff out there, which is kind of cool. More mountainous, a lot of pine trees. I mean, there's pine trees here, but you get out there in the wilderness, you're more likely to run into an eagle. And when I say run into them, I don't mean drive into them. I mean, come across one. So I just don't, all my friends at PETA, I have no friends at PETA. I don't want to upset anyway. Actually, yes, I do. As often as I can, I would like to upset PETA. But anyway, Kevin Thomas says, Kevin Thomas says he's from down south. So he says, my dad said NASCAR died with Earnhardt. I wouldn't know. Again, I know who Dale Earnhardt is, but it's gross scrubland. I mean, it depends on where you go, geek. Eastern Washington's way worse than Eastern Oregon. I mean, up by the Columbia, it gets like Pendleton and stuff. It gets a little, but like the forestry and stuff out there and the lava beds, I always thought they were cool when I was a kid. We can debate that all day, but Why would we? Okay, so what should we do first? Let's jump into my collection first, and then move on from there. I got some books stacked up here, and I'm dying to show them to you. So let's do that. Still here. Okay. So we're into the kind of the end of the tease. When I say tease, I don't mean like, I'm teasing you. I mean the end of the letter T. In my comic book collection. Now, again, I'm not showing you everything I have, just trying to give you some highlights, some stuff I think you may or may not be interested in. But we're going to show you anyway, because that's how I do my show. It's less about entertainment and more about pleasing me. Okay. You see Tor right there. I already gave that away. We'll get to him in a second. I finally, my son got me a Christmas present and a birthday present, both from Metropolis Comics, one of the biggest dealers in the world, if not. I've actually been to their place of business in New York City, and it's pretty cool. Anyway, Vince runs that place, very good guy. But anyway, it took him forever to ship this stuff. So this is my Christmas present right here. And I finally got it here in, February? And my son had to email him and go, you guys ever going to ship that stuff? And they're like, oh, yeah, sorry. So anyway, according to Metropolis, and I trust them, 95% of the time, no one's perfect. This is a near mint minus, and I'm totally fine with this. So why do I have this? I'm not a big FF collector, but I am a Silver Surfer appearance collector. And there's a 3-issue run in Fantastic Four, 121, 122, and 123 that have Galactus and the Silver Surfer in it. And this is one of them. I've got 121. I don't have 122. It's a black cover with Galactus on it. It's going to be a little tougher to get in higher grade just because of the cover, but I will get it eventually. These aren't super expensive, around $100, maybe a little less, depending on the grade, but glad to have it. Son got that for me. He also, now my birthday present, you might have seen this teased in the opener, the trailer. Look at this. Look at poor Iron Man being assaulted by college kids. Where have we seen this before? Talk about relevant. Geez. Iron Man says, no matter what these kids do, I can't strike back against them. I can't. And then the kids like throwing bricks at him and explosives. Don't be afraid to blast us, Tin Man. After all, we're only kids. I would turn around and there would be Repulsor Ray City all over that campus. But anyway, this is Iron Man number 45 from 1972. Why do I want this comic? It's not really worth that much, but it has a great Gil Kane cover. Again, Gil doing what Gil does best, which is put a really big, strong central figure in the foreground that draws your attention, and then kind of you get the scene playing out behind him. So classic Gil Kane cover, love it. And of course, I love the rotten college students in the background. I find this kind of amusing, even though now I kind of find it sad since it seems to be repeating itself. So there you have it. Let me give everybody a piece of advice. If you're a collector, I don't care how nice your book is. This book is worth about $40, okay? To spend $50 for shipping and grading to get it slabbed, you have to charge $100 for a book that's worth $45 or $40. And so you're essentially losing money because most people aren't going to pay that. So I have a rule. It's like I do not get books slabbed unless they're worth at least $200 because you're going to lose $50 in value getting it slabbed, the cost of getting it slabbed that you're not going to be able to possibly not be able to recoup. But if someone's willing to do this, I'm willing to take advantage of them and get it on the cheap, which is exactly, well, my son did, but I would have done it eventually too. Anyway, 2 great pickups from Metropolis. Now let's get into the tease. So yeah, those are my Christmas and birthday presents from my son that finally showed up. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take these off so I don't spoil everything just before we see it. Okay, so this is tour number 1, 74 probably. No, 75 because it's 25 center. Joe Kubert. Tor the Caveman faces eternal battle for existence. Don't we all? This is, in my opinion, Kubert's best work is his Tor work. I really like it. But then again, I'm a caveman dinosaur kind of guy. Now check this out. Tower of Shadows, #1. It's probably about a 9. Now, it's a nice looking book. This has the lead story in it is a Steranko story that has to be seen. Well, I'm not going to say seen to be believed, but to really, if you really want to appreciate some storytelling and some great comic art, check out Tower of Shadows #1 and look at this Steranko story. Now, again, these are all high grade, so I am not cracking it open to show you. You're going to have to go look it up on the interwebs. Unexpected, number 202. Why do I have this? Because I was at a comic shop. I couldn't find, or a comic book show years ago. Couldn't find anything I wanted. And then I saw this book with a giant fanged rabbit on it. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I must own this. This is like getting Fat Superman in a phone booth, which I have that comic as well. A giant rabbit with fangs. Boy, howdy. Can't wait to read this story. Now, because I'm just a radical 70s collector, I had to get Vault of Evil #1. The thing about Vault of Evil, I think these were reprints of like older books with just new covers on them. So you'd get like old Tales of Suspense. I mean, old Tales of Suspense before the superhero stuff, like the Kirby Monster stuff and Ditko stuff. So this is like, I'm pretty sure a reprint book, but you know, it's 1973. So, and it is the eerie first issue. You don't want to miss that. Now here's one. Valley of Gwangi, right? Who doesn't love this movie? Cowboys versus dinosaurs in the Old West, actually down in Mexico. Love this movie. James Franciscus and Harryhausen doing his, I think it's Harryhausen. Someone correct me. Marcus Killigu probably knows. This is a nice little near mint copy. So I'm pretty happy to have it. It's, I think it's actually listed under like movie, something. There's something with a T in there. The Movie Classics or something. I don't know. But anyway, Valley of Gwangi. Can't speak for what's on the inside. I just got it because of the movie. Here we go. Warlock #1, Gil Kane, of course. This is Warlock's first spin-off series. Now, if you remember, he had like a little bit of a run in Strange Tales, and then that spun off into his own title, Power of Warlock. #1, I got this from a distributor. This is like near mint book. He had a stack of them in his warehouse. I don't know, maybe, God, it was before I went to CrossGen. So before 2001, I bought this off him, along with the Tomb of Dracula #1, which I later sold, which I should have kept, but oh well. That's Warlock #9. That's the first Starlin issue, so kind of significant. I want to say our now good friend Steve Lealoa was the inker on this. Pretty sure he was. And then I like this one. I've got all these Warlocks. I'm not going to show you all of them, but I got all of them. And this is issue number 15. It's just a great cover by Starlin. So that's kind of why I have that. Again, blistering near mint condition. Some of you may remember The Warlord by Mike Gorell. That's the first issue right there. And he first appeared in first issue special, #5, I believe. #7, maybe. And then spun off into his own series. This is interesting. I got 2 of these. I had like a 7.0 copy. This is closer to a 9-ish. This is really hard to find. That's a Wrightson cover. It's a great Wrightson cover. Look at this kind of colonial dude and got some werewolves in the snow. It's a freaking great cover. And it's kind of an off the wall DC horror book. So it's hard to find because no one really bought them. And it's got a great Wrightson cover, which makes it even more desirable, which makes it even harder to find. So anyway, how about some cowboy stuff? Weird Western #12, first appearance of, what's his face? Diablo. Kubert cover, Neil Adams story. That's why I got it. I've got several of those with the Neil Adams stories in them. Weird Wonder Tales, more reprints. That's it. The Colossus, I believe, originally from Tales of Suspense 20. But that's #1. 1973. And then we'll end it today on Weird Worlds. This was a short series in 73. It was all Edgar Rice Burroughs, Mars stuff. So he had like, there was John Carter of Mars. There was Carson of Venus. There might have been Pellucidar stories in there as well, which is Middle Earth or center of the Earth stories. And of course, a big fan of this stuff. Worthless, but I love it. So I've got it. Anyway, that's going to take us not all the way through the W's, but pretty much through. We'll get into the W's and X's next week as we go through, continue to go through my collection until we're almost done. And we are almost done. Okay, so look at this. Devil Flyer says, Weird Wonder Tales is the only comic my brother bought for me. Monster comics and weird monster comics, those were tough to pass up, especially if they had good covers on them with big monsters. You're like, I got to read this. I got to read this, especially when you're a little kid. And I wasn't, early on, was not really deciphering between superheroes and stuff. I was just buying monster comics. Ooh, Frankenstein, Werewolf by Night, blah, 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 this stuff. And so anything with a big monster on it usually got me. Yes, Marcus is correct. Murphy Anderson on the inside of those Weird Worlds. He was doing the John Carter stories. I think Alan Weiss was doing the Pellucidar series, and Kaluta might have done some stuff in there. Chaikin did some stuff in there. But yeah, good, fun stuff. The way comic books used to be good and fun. Remember those days? Vaguely. Paul Ogg for $9.99. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. He goes, am I the only one that heard Aaron says he's afraid of Mark Brooks as the reasons he won't go to Washington State SummerCon? Afraid is not the right word. Annoyed is a bigger word. And plus, I have to talk myself into like driving 4.5 hours, and I'm not much of a con guy anymore. So any reason not to go is usually a pretty good reason not to go for me, but we'll see. Oh, Devil Flyer says he has some production art from that series. Cool. Let's see. Okay, so this is all great and fun and everybody loves it, but we need to move on because we have other things that are important. But nothing may be more important than this public service announcement. That's right. Like and subscribe. We've been growing lately. I think probably in large part to the success of Graybeard Studio, but this show too has been growing. And I appreciate you guys making it happen by sharing the links and letting people know and pretending you're having a good time even when you're not. And that's, to me, that's the most important thing. Okay. Well, should we do it? Let's do it. Let's look at some art. Not mine, but this guy. I'm digging those jazzy tunes. Okay. Who the heck is Howard Pyle? Well, let me tell you. I'm all about Howard Pyle. Actually, not really, but I do like his stuff. So let me share a little bit with you, if I may, give you a little background on the man, the myth. Okay, Howard Pyle was as you see, a writer, illustrator, founder of the Brandywine School. Now, what does that mean? There's all sorts of schools of painting, especially, back at the turn of the century. And I mean, not the 21st century, but from the 19th to the 20th century. And these guys would basically teach a method of painting, and it would get, it wasn't like there was actually a school that people went to called Brandywine University, but they would take classes from these guys and they would teach them their method of painting, and it became a school of thought, school of approach to painting. And so he founded the Brandywine School. Now, here's the thing on Howard Pyle. He was, as it says here, an illustrator, painter, author, and primarily of books for young people. grew up in Wilmington, Delaware, and he spent the last year of his life in Florence, Italy. How's that? So a painter of painterly stature dies in Florence, Italy. That sounds incredibly appropriate. So he's born in 1853. So, right it's during just the tail end of the Civil War, and only lived to 1911. So he's 58 years old when he died. But he is known as the father of American illustration. So he was like the first dude to really I shouldn't say first dude because I don't know that for a fact, but I'm going to say the first recognizable, the first prominent illustrator of books and stories, and which takes this stuff from being fine art, hanging in a gallery, selling to a patron, and now publishing, and it becoming commercial art. So now you have these guys with this immense talent, fine art type talent, doing work in books and illustrating stories. And man, talk about the good old days. Now, granted, there wasn't, indoor plumbing, which is kind of a bummer, and healthcare, not great. But they didn't have COVID shots, so that was good. But aside from that, if you wanted to be an artist, man, living back the turn of the century, early 1900s, even up to the 40s, into the 50s, when their photography didn't rule the roost, it was all about illustration and illustrated stories. And you can see look at how heavy and thick that water is. Very reminiscent of, you can see where Frazetta might have got some influence from here. Now here's a little black and white illustration. So he did both color work, which is probably what he's best known for. And let's make this a little bit bigger. So these pilgrims are menacing this old witch with this illustration. And again, these are all from illustrated stories. They either wrote himself or was illustrating for somebody else, right? But he was an influence to everybody. And but he's best known for his pirate stories, I think. At least that's how I best know him. Look at that. Now, these are all oil paintings because that was the medium of the day for sure. These guys were all classically trained, and then they went into being commercial artists. And this was the outlet: magazine illustration, books, children's books. It would have been a very exciting time to be working. That's for sure, I would think. But he was very interested in teaching. He liked to pass on what he learned to others. And so that's why he's so incredibly influential. And there are books out there on him. I don't know that there's rare books, probably, but there's also inexpensive ones, I'm sure. If you want to check this guy out, don't be afraid to visit our friends at Amazon. If they're truly our friends, I don't know. But look at this. Look at the composition here. You got a pirate dragging a apparently dead body up the stairs. You've got the red bandana sort of draws your eye right to the head of the pirate, and all this white surrounding him. It's a really interesting composition, very dramatic. But you can also appreciate the painterly style of Pyle. And what I mean by painterly style is when you can see the texture of the medium that the artist is working in. That's what I mean by painterly. There's guys that try to do photorealism, like, Boris Vallejo, James Bama, guys like that. They're not so much interested in using the medium as part of the illustration, but using the medium to create a different look or a photographic look. This is a painterly look. It's like I'm using paint. I want you to know I'm using paint, but I'm still capturing an image, conveying an emotion, telling a story. And so that's what I mean by painterly, where you can see the brush strokes on these guys' work. Now look at this. This kind of reminds me, speaking of Frazetta, reminds me, obviously the subject matter is different, But you kind of, you know, the Conan stuff where you've got all the guys piling up, you know, and Conan's on top of the heap, hatcheting away at his enemies. I mean, how reminiscent is like those type of Conan paintings to a composition like this? This obviously being a Civil War piece. This is freaking awesome. Look at this dude's face right there. I just love that. These guys' faces. Look at that. This is freaking complex. And you'll see as you get farther back in here, the stuff that we don't really need to know, the face is still there, but the detail is not. Whereas you're getting here and you're getting here, because this is where your focus is right in here. This guy down here, look at bloody dead guy down here. This guy down here. These are fantastic. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Look at these painting strokes right in here. I mean, you can see the paint. You can see the brush strokes. So he's incorporating, again, the medium of oil paints into this really wonderful illustration that tells a story, but it's like he's using that texture of the paints to create an effect and create a look and a style. That's just that's a great piece. That is every bit as worthy of a comic book cover or a, a paperback adventure, paperback cover from the 60s. It's just great. This is interesting. A little medievalism. So we have like some sort of Knights of the Round Table type situation here, I'm sure. And again, look at the painterly strokes. And some people aren't into that sort of painter look. They want something more refined. But as I get older, I get more intrigued by how you can do a really, really great illustration and not have it like super tight. It's like figuring out what the important parts are, and it's about value, light and dark. It's about color. And yes, the drawing is great, but it doesn't have to be like super slick and Brian Boland refined, right? But I mean, the metal looks shiny. It looks like metal. This is texture, cloth, the horse, it's just cool. And our last one we'll take a look at right here. The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood, illustrated by Howard Pyle. Looks a little bit like Errol Flynn there, doesn't it? I don't know when this was done. Obviously, it had to have been done before Errol Flynn because Pyle died in 1911. So this had to have been, way before the movie. So you got to wonder, the people that did the costumes and the designers and stuff had to go to this resource material to kind of get an idea of costuming. That's a wonderful painting. And it's tighter. You notice that it's tighter than some of the other stuff we were looking at too. I mean, look how nice that face is. Really refined, the skin tones and everything. It's much softer. You get a little looser here in the background because you don't want your focus there anyway, right? You're putting in light and color and values back here to create shapes, to create this sort of environment back there. But you don't want to be back there counting leaves. That's not what you're supposed to be looking at. You're supposed to be looking at him and then kind of, the merry men here in the background. And then this just sort of fills in and helps create the environment without being distracting. Brilliant work. That's the kind of stuff that on this show gets you in trouble. I hate to be the guy that says, you wait till next year, pal, but I'm saying it. Okay. I agree. It doesn't look like Pyle. It looks more like Alex Raymond or somebody, but it says so on the book cover, so I'm going to believe that it is him. Yeah, I can't remember the exact date, Paul, but the movie was in the 30s, And since we know that Howard Pyle died in 1911, that had to have been done before then. Anyway, so there we go. This is what we do every week. We take an artist, because I think it's important to kind of look back once in a while. And as we get closer and closer into a completely digital age that no one's drawing on paper or painting anymore, that we look back at the guys that really could do it well, and that we've all sort of, as artists or as people that appreciate art, that, we're a part of, our education growing up, on what really good art is and why it's good. So anyway, there you go. There's Howard Pyle. He's our little spotlight for this week. Like I said, if you don't have any homework, I'm not assigning homework here, but if you have a chance, check some of his stuff out. All righty. Well, that's the end of the show. No, I'm kidding. Of course it's not. We have much more to do. And one of those things is, let's take a look, because I know you guys want to do this. And this is going to get me probably flagged, but I don't care, because rock and roll is more important than monetization. It's time for my top 5. Now I know that this list is going to piss you guys off, or at least piss some of you off. But music's subjective, man. It's like art. So I'm going to give you my top 5 albums. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily songs. I'm not talking about the best looking album cover. I'm kind of judging it by the classic rock albums, and I consider classic rock anything prior to 1980, before the new wave kind of came in the 80s, or a classic rock band that still performed in the 80s, like Van Halen or something like that, that was still doing traditional, what we consider classic rock. But I judge these by how many songs, recognizable songs, good songs, radio play songs are on an album. If you've given me an album that's like, I've heard of every single song on that album, that's a pretty freaking good album. Because usually you'll get 2, maybe 3 really good songs, and then you'll get the rest is, kind of hit or miss. But these are ones that I think the whole album rocks. And there's a lot of good choices out there. And obviously I'm only picking 5. These are my top 5. I'm not saying I don't like anything else. I'm just saying these, if I had to pick 5 to be stuck on a desert island with a record player, these are my 5 albums I'm taking with me. So let's see how, Citizen Ron says Doug and the Slugs. No. Auntie Entity, she wants Journey. I love Journey. I do. I like REO Speedwagon. I have very eclectic tastes, but we'll find out. We'll find out who's on this list and why right now. And let's see. If for some reason I go black, I'll be back in about a minute and a half. So hang in there, but I don't think I will, because these are short clips. But, we're dealing with YouTube. So here we go. Number 5. You might remember this band and this Grammy Award-winning album. That's right. I am going to go with Fleetwood Mac and Rumors. Now, I don't dislike Fleetwood Mac. I'm not a huge Fleetwood Mac fan, but this album is great. And you can't deny that it's a great album. I think there's only like 2 songs on here that I'm like, that's. And this is an interesting album because they were all, at that time, they were all messed up. And their interband personal relationships. I believe Stevie Nicks had her and Lindsey Buckingham had broken up, and now she was with Mick Fleetwood, who's in the same band, the drummer, and you're just like, how incredibly awkward and disgusting would that be situation? But and I don't know what was going on with the McVies, Christine McVie and what's his face, the bass player, but they had a split up. That might have been later, but there was all sorts of emotional turmoil going on. And Lindsey Buckingham wrote a lot of these songs, and they were all about his, taking shots at Stevie Nicks. And so you can you imagine when you come into the studio and you're like, oh, here's this song, you can go your own way. I'm really talking about you and Mick Fleetwood. And yet they were just massive hits, and they were great songs. And of course, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe won Album of the Year that year. And that was like 78, 77-ish. There you go. Geek Avengers is like Stevie Nicks was sleeping with everybody. She was thought before it was in style. I don't know. I think it became in style in the 60s. So Wizard Sleeve says, okay, solid choice. Reminds me of Saturday Mornings in the 70s. Okay. And what do we got here? Iconic album. Thank you, Matty Dubs. Appreciate that. Citizen Ron says, I prefer Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. Come on, man. Come on. Somebody told me, I can't remember. No, we'll get to it later because I don't want to give away anything. I'll talk about it later. But it does tie back into what we were just talking about, like earlier band members. So there you go. Kiefer knows his stuff. That album is excellent. It is. ELO is a good, they got some good, I don't know that I like ELO's songs, but I don't know if there's a single album that really like, ooh, I got to have that album. Eric Boyce says they're okay, but the fact that they kept talking about their drama put me off. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Although I wasn't really tuned in as a kid that much. I didn't really, I mean, you'd hear it on the radio. They'd always say something before they played the song or whatever, but killer album though. It just is. Okay. So far have not been, I guarantee I'm going to get demonetized for this, but I don't think I'm going to get shut down. So let's go at number 4. All right, here we go. Tell me if you haven't seen, this is a clip from a video of a 2010 show. If you haven't seen this, you look it up on YouTube because it is unbelievable.
Have become comfortably numb.
That would be from The Wall, Pink Floyd, The Wall. And we had, but that was live at Pompeii, and I believe it's 2014. Look it up on YouTube. It's under, oh, dear Lord, what's the lead guitarist's name? Dave, help me out. There's Roger Waters, and then there's the lead guitarist and lead singer, who I can't think of his, for some reason. He's one of my favorite guitarists. I can't. Yeah, David Gilmour. If you look up Pompeii, David Gilmour, like 2014, that performance, that is the lead in that is freaking awesome. It's better than what's on the album. And he's an old dude, and he's just jamming. It's great. So check that out. Yeah, got it. David Gilmour. Thanks, Paul. Okay, so here's the deal. Someone once told me that they thought that there was I can't remember who the dude's name was, but he was the leader of Pink Floyd, like in the 60s. And I believe he was pre-Gilmour, but I don't know that he was pre-Roger Waters. It was one of those two guys. Wasn't in the band and came after this guy left. He died early. And he says he liked the Pink Floyd stuff before Waters and Gilmour. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you insane? So yeah, Roger Waters and David Gilmour, who Gilmour's really, in my opinion, I mean, Roger Waters wrote a lot of the tunes, so I give him credit for that. His politics drive me nuts, but you got to give it up when you got to give it up. And they're one of my favorite bands. And The Wall, which I want to say was 1980, 1979, killer album. In fact, we have the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. They do laser light shows, midnight shows. And they're always doing what they call Laser Floyd, and they'll do the entire album. And my daughter and I have now been twice to go see them do The Wall, where they just play the entire album and then just do a laser light show on the planetarium ceiling. And if I was into smoking pot, that's where you'd go. But I'm not. But I still go anyway to enjoy the legendary rock that is Pink Floyd. Anti-Entities is going, give me Queensryche or Dream Theater. That's a little too metal for me, man. I was dropping out of the music scene. Listen to me. I was dropping out of the music scene, man. In the late 80s and into the 90s. There's Wizard Slave. Do you enjoy the early Floyd? No, not necessarily. I haven't listened to a ton of it, though. So I should give it a fair shake. Animals, Eric Burdon and the Animals, songs more than the band. Sid, there it is. Sid, what was his name? Sid, okay. Yeah, Sid, but what's his, not Sid Vicious. Sid Went Nuts, Crazy Diamond Sid Barrett, that's it. Sid Barrett, there it is. Everybody's going Sid. And I was like, where's the last name? Yeah, before Gilmore. You guys know your stuff. Yeah, Sid Barrett, whatever. I'm a big David Gilmour fan. I mean, that dude can play. And it's interesting because Gilmour, that lead solo in Comfortably Numb is considered widely. If you look at, top 100 guitar solos all time, that's usually number one. But then you see you go to the Instagram and there's some 20-year-old chick playing it, and barely in a bikini, or whatever to get likes. I'm like, how in the world can that girl be playing that? If this guy's the greatest, one of the great guitarists of the world, and it's the greatest guitar solo, how can this chick just be playing that? And then it dawned on me, of course, that it's not so much the playing of it, because anybody can learn the notes and learn to play guitar. It's conceptualizing it and writing it is what make these guys great, not just the ability to play it. And I respect anybody that can play a guitar that well, regardless if they write music or not, because I can't. And I love that talent that I don't have. But it's their ability to come up with these incredible lead solos is what makes them great, not just their ability to play it, of course. So, and I guess that's overstating the obvious. But anyway, there we go. So Comfortably Numb, of course, on the Wall LP, which is a great album. But let's keep moving here. And what do we got next? We've got number 3. Can you tell I like talking about old rock music better than comics? Here we go. Number 3 might surprise you. Maybe not. I guess you're just what I need. That's what I need. I needed someone to feed. I guess you're just what I need. That's what I need. I needed someone to feed. Yes, the Cars, baby. Jimmy Owens, hi, Aaron. Probably won't be long, not feeling well. Okay, Jimmy, I hope you feel better, but thank you for dropping in, man. Really appreciate it. The Cars debut album, which is simply titled The Cars, which of course has that song, Just What You Needed, is probably top 3 greatest debut albums of all time. Every freaking song on that album is good, and some of them are great. I was a big Cars fan. They got a little poppy in the 80s, but I love that album. And I remember buying it when it came out. Talk about dating yourself. Bought that when it came out, and we were just rocking to the Cars, man. We thought, what a dumb name for a band, the Cars. But the Police, I mean, there's a lot of dumb names, but they were good. They were really, really good. That's it. That's right there. Citizen Ronin's got it. There is not a weak cut on that Cars first album. There isn't. And man, how do you follow that up, right? Your debut album is freaking awesome. And, Candio was fine, and some of their Drive was okay. I mean, but nothing like that first album. So there you go. That's my number 3 album of all time for classic rock. How about that? I know I will say this. People are talking about Appetite for Destruction, which is a really good album. Did not make my top 5, but it is a really good album. And it's a debut album. And it is one of the top 3 debut albums, I think, of all time, along with that Cars. And now we're going to see who the second one is here. Number 2. You may have guessed it, but it's another debut album. Let's take a look. Boston, baby. Here's the wild thing. Now, the lead guitarist, I can't think of his name, but the lead guitarist wrote all that stuff. And he, I believe, he went in and recorded that thing solo and did every part himself except the vocals. I don't know if that would have pissed off his bandmates because he was such a freaking perfectionist. And every song on that album got radio play, every single one of them. And they were all really, really good. So there's my top 3 debut albums of all time is a Boston, Cars, and then Appetite for Destruction. I think. Now, granted, I'm not a heavy metal guy, and so, you know, there could be people that would say, well, what about this, that? But for just classic rock, staying away from what I would consider any other genre, just what I would consider classic rock, those were the 3 best debut albums I've ever heard. And Boston makes my 2nd favorite album of all time. So how about that? Brad Delp. Okay, so I'm assuming is that the lead singer for Boston? Must be. He had a great voice, but man, that mustache. Porn mustache of the 70s, not a great look. Even in the 70s, I don't think it was a good look. Ken Jackman says, I was a teenager in the 90s, so I'm a young adult in the late 90s. So the music I know, and I live in California, so music I know is mostly rhythm and blues of that era. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're all sort of products of our environments, right? And we had a great rock station in the 70s, and they were just coming out of that darn hippie music of the 60s, and it was transitioning into what we'd consider more classic rock, but at the time it was just rock was forming, and out of the 60s, and there was some great bands, Aerosmith, Journey, REO Speedwagon, which was probably a second tier band, but I still liked them. And, the Who were doing great stuff. The Stones, I've never been a huge Stones fan. I'm always kind of hit or miss on the Stones, depends on the song. But there was just, Badfinger. Remember Badfinger? They sounded like what the Beatles would have sounded like if they kept going. Plus they had McCartney and George Harrison wrote songs for them, which helped. But they were a really good band, and they tragically ended as well. There was like suicide involved and managers stealing stuff. But anyway, there was a lot of good bands in the 70s. And there you are. Jimmy Owens, $5. Thank you so much, Jimmy. I really appreciate that. Your streams make me instantly feel better. Thanks, buddy. Oh, thank you. We're the drama-free zone over here, man. We just like to talk about old good times and stuff I remember. Probably through some pretty serious rose-colored glasses, but hey, why not? Yeah, of course, Van Halen. Okay, now you want to talk about a hot take? I prefer the Sammy Hagar Van Halen to the David Lee Roth, and I know that's going to drive people nuts, but I really liked when Sammy Hagar was lead singer. I thought they did some really good stuff during that short period. All right, so you're probably saying, okay, Aaron, that's great, but what's your number one choice here? It might be obvious if you think about it, but let's take a listen to this.
And if your head explodes without the bones too, I'll see you on the dark side of the moon.
Dark Side of the Moon is, it used to be, it's not anymore, but it's still close up there in the greatest units selling album of all time. It was on the top one, Billboard Top 100 for like ever. It was like never going to leave. When I was in, I think I was in high school, junior high school, and the aforementioned laser light shows they used to do at the Oregon, or they still do, but they used to be midnight on the weekends, right? So, and it was the talk, man, was they were doing Dark Side of the Moon laser light show. You had to go see this, right? So here I am in high school, couldn't get anybody to go for whatever reason. And so my grandma was visiting in town. The grandma Lopresti on my dad's side was in town, and she was a lot of fun. She was very kind of try anything once kind of person. So I said, well, I'm going to this laser light show at midnight, and I don't know. I guess I'm going by myself because everybody had to work, or no one wanted to go, or, you know. So she goes, oh, I'll go. And so in high school, I took my grandma, and everybody was smoking weed at that, you know, I mean, it was pot was everywhere. So I took my grandma to go see this laser light show when I was, I don't know if I was 16. I don't even remember. And we went at midnight. Now they don't even do the midnight shows anymore. You have to go like at 7:30 at night. As later they'll do it, probably because they don't want you to get killed by Antifa in downtown Portland. But so we went out with my grandma, and we went and saw this, and she'd never heard Pink Floyd in her life. But I was like, what'd you think? And she's like, oh, it was great, you know. So anyway, there you go. And the reason, that's probably part of the reason I've always liked Pink Floyd, because they don't sing about what anybody else is singing about. You know what I mean? It's not, all their songs aren't about romance or sex, which is 90% of the music, right? And they're never about that. And even if they are, it doesn't sound like they are. So that's always kind of, once I tied that laser light show in with the album, it just took off for me. And it's my go-to. We listen to that at Christmas time every year. I mean, how crazy is that? Put on Pink Floyd, it's Christmas time. Paul Taylor says he's not much of care for Rush. I know there's a big discussion going on in there. I'm not either. Geddy Lee drives me nuts. As great as Neil Peart is on the drums, and Alex Lifeson is a guitarist, Geddy Lee's vocals, you know, just, I don't know. It depends on the song. I know people like Tom Sawyer. I'm kind of mixed on that. I'm not a huge Jethro Tull guy, although I think the lead in Aqualung is fantastic. But again, it comes down to me. I'm talking about albums here, right? And it's like, even like The Who, and I know people say that Quadrophenia is unbelievable, and you know, Who Goes There, and there's some good albums. And I looked at Queen, and I was like, because I'm a big Queen fan, but they don't have a single album, and I'm not counting greatest hits. They don't have a single album that's got every song is so great that you're like, I'm just going to listen to the whole album from, you know, start to finish. Now you could argue there's some Beatles albums in there that are pretty good, but I'm a Beatles fan. Don't get me wrong, but not as much as I am some of these other bands, and that's why we don't have a Beatles album on there. Here's a little interesting tidbit for you. I don't know if you knew this or not, but a lot of guys moved through Edgar Winter's band, like Rick Derringer, Ronnie Montrose. But one guy was in there that I didn't know, and now I can't remember his name. So Dan, he wrote, you know, Streets of Fire, the Walter Hill movie. I Can Dream About You, that song. Dan Hartman. Dan Hartman was in Edgar Winter's band for a while, and he wrote Free Ride and performed it in the Edgar Winter band. I had no idea that Dan Hartman. I just learned that recently, and it just blew my mind. I'm like, Dan Hartman wrote that, and he performed it. He was I didn't even know he was in the band. He was in there, and they had another guitarist, and Derringer was playing like bass on this, like the show I saw. It might have been what was the Friday night rock and roll show that Burt Sugarman's Midnight Special? Did you guys ever watch that in the early? If you're around in the early 70s, Love that show. But anyway, so there you go. Dan Hartman. Isn't that interesting? Someone please clip that. I'm a big Queen fan. Yeah, that's the thing. Just cut off the fan part. And yeah, I'll be waiting for it. Like I said, I'm up and down on the Stones. It depends on the song, but I'm not like a diehard Stones fan. So anyway, yeah, but again with Skinnerd, it's like a greatest hits album. Yeah, but if you take like they have a double, don't they have something called double platinum or something? I used to have. They had all the, it was great. I love Skinnerd. Freebird, of course. Sweet Home Alabama. Give me 3 Steps. Even Ooh Ooh That Smell. Of course, you're talking about drugs, but again, I don't know that there's a single album. That was always the bugaboo for me as a kid. It was like I didn't want to spend money on an entire album because for 1 or 2 songs, and then you hoped the other songs were great. In these cases, in these 5 albums, you can't go wrong. And I'll tell you another one. If you like story albums, or what do they call them? I don't know if story albums isn't the right word, but themed albums, that's not exactly the word I'm looking for. But if you look at Alan Parsons' Tales of Mystery and Imagination, which is his very first album, and it's Edgar Allan Poe. Everything is based on the writings of Edgar Allan Poe. And it's kind of weirdish, but he produced Dark Side of the Moon. So it has that kind of Pink Floyd sort of esque flair to it. That is a freaking awesome album. If you haven't checked it out, that's Alan Parsons' project, Tales of Mystery and Imagination. Check it out. That almost squeezed in here, but I would have had to knock out a Pink Floyd album, which I'm not going to do. So Alan Parsons would probably be number 6 on my list. So there you go. Oh, Grand Illusion is a good album. Oh, pardon me. Grand Illusion is a good album. Deep Purple. Again, Deep Purple is kind of, it's like Iron Butterfly. Maybe a little bit here and there. There you go. Love Poe and Vincent Price movies. Of course, he's referring to all the, what were they? Not Hammer, but they were, all those Roger Corman films. Jack Nicholson got started in those things. Crazy. I like the Kinks. I do. Yeah, there was a lot of like fantasy influence in the 70s, not only in comic book art, but in music. And you saw that, I think, in a lot of the albums. And of course, he's referring to Styx in that particular. Jeff Potts is mad. $5. Thank you, though. He says, not a single Rush album on the list. I call shenanigans. Jeff, what can I tell you? I'm not a Rush guy. I got a friend of mine who ended up being a physics teacher. Incredible guitarist. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. He was a guy that he was professional quality coming out of high school. They had a band for a while and did clubs and stuff, but it just didn't work out. He didn't have the support at home, and he just kind of gave it up. But he was a huge Rush fan, huge Rush and huge Toll fan. And I have a great deal of respect for him. And so I would give those bands a listen, even though they were not, necessarily on my regular playlist. Although Fly By Night I like, and that's a great album cover too. That owl swooping down, Fly By Night. Anyway, so there you go. The Vespa guy for $10 says, call this a kickback for introducing me to Taschen. Picked up the Frazetta book last weekend. Oh, you are so smart. For 50% off, which was a steal. Your recommendations are always solid when it comes to art anyway. Not agree with my music. Is that what you're saying, Vespa guy? Yeah, Taschen makes these huge coffee table books. In fact, you see that Finch Clayface painting behind me, right up on my counter. See that cardboard box sticking out behind that? That's the big Frazetta book that I got from Taschen. It was a $200 book, and they had a flash sale last week, and you could get it for 50% off, which ticked me off because I could have got it for $100. But you never know when they come out if they're going to sell out or whatever. But anyway, so I got the Frazetta book, but I also got something else. But I'm not going to reveal that until I do an unboxing video later in the week when it shows up. So watch for that one, but it's cool. There you go. Citizen Rowan says, Jethro Tull is a fantastic band that has kind of been forgotten, except for a few songs. They had a great run of fantastic albums. That is true, and they're a very unique sound. Much like we talked about, Boston had its own, in Pink Floyd. You can't mistake Pink Floyd. Tull is the same way. You don't mistake Tull. And then, Ian Anderson playing the flute or whatever. You don't see that in rock bands very much. So, B-Spin is getting grouchy like me. Nobody can name a single great song made in the last 30 years. Nobody makes music anymore. Not like they used to. But then we always say that they don't make comics like they used to anyway. Nobody does anything the way, what the problem is? I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say, or maybe I'm not going out on a limb, but the problem is technology is too far advanced that allows people with marginal talent to do things professionally that they would never have been able to do 40, 50 years ago. So you had, it was so dog eat dog in every creative field, comics, commercial art, music. You had to be the best of the best or you weren't going to make it. And that's no longer the case because technology is aiding people. And so I don't know if there's the same heart and soul in a lot of creative endeavors today that there was back in that sort of dog eat dog world that I caught the tail end of, but most of these guys, thrived in and became superstars in. I did. I mentioned The Who. I like The Who, but they just didn't make the top 5, man. Somebody's got to be left out. It's the way things go. Whenever you do a top 10 list or a top 5 list, especially a top 5 list, somebody's going to go home sad. It's just the way it is. All righty. Well, there's the music. And I thought that was a good conversation. Thank you, guys. You guys are knowledgeable. I love talking about this kind of stuff, but we're not done yet. No, we're not. We got to look at some other original art. And this is from me. I literally pulled this stuff out of my flat file. So what are we going to take a look at? I thought I was going through my flat files and I found a couple of sketchbooks. Now I have a ton of sketchbooks. And these are ones I'm still working on. So I thought, they're a little bit more up to date. Let's see what we got here. Now, this right here, this is a little book that was given to me at San Diego by Deviant Art. Remember Deviant Art? I think they're still in existence. But I used to have an account with them. I don't anymore. At least I don't think I do. I don't know. But anyway, so they gave us this little sketchbook. And what did I do in this sketchbook? Now, I came up with this guy called Nightmare Man. Now, he looks like Nightmare, actually, from Marvel and Doctor Strange. So I guess I was just ripping him off. I can't even remember what this story was for. Looks a little bit more like Spock there. So I was toying with some ideas. I don't even remember what comic this would have been for. But just, Now, here's a Captain America. And I did a Captain America print that those of you who have seen me at shows have probably seen the Captain America print. It basically is Captain America with his rogues gallery. This is my first attempt at it. And this was very, very basic. In fact, let me go grab the print so we can compare and contrast. It's sitting right over here. I think. Bear with me. No, I'm out of them. Gosh darn it. All right, well, thought I had a couple left. What are you going to do? Anyway, so I did this Rogues Gallery print, and so I was just, messing around this little tiny sketchbook, and I got a few more, cap ideas. That's really all I did in that. Now, this is interesting. Back when DC Comics liked me, And they used to give away presents at Christmas time. This is kind of nice. They give you this little notebook, right? It says it's got the DC emblem on it. It says DC Comics right there. Now, even though this has some, case of loss, please. Like, unlike in second grade, I put my name in there. As a reward, $0. That's your reward if you find the sketchbook and return it to me. Power Cubed. I was doing some design work on Click, one of the characters from Power Cubed. 6-month overviews due 15th of every month. I don't even know what that means. On Directing Film by David Mamet, a book I was going to get and I still haven't picked up. Now check this out. What I used this book for was actually to write script notes. There's the nightclub script. Those of you who read Blood Hunters would know what the nightclub is, or the Garbage Man trade paperback, or Wraith of God 1. There's a little bit of nightclub in the epilogue. And I got Wraith of God Blood Hunters notes here. Look at little faces of Esther with an expression. How to put together the Kit Carter campaign. Kit Carter notes, script notes. I think this is the first 8-page scene I wrote. I was on an airplane when I was writing that. Yeah, I even sketched out like one panel. Yeah, so here we go. Yeah, page 8, page 9. I wrote a little bit more in there. First Lord Menace scene, and then that's pretty much it. So I've actually used this DC book to do like script notes in, usually when I'm traveling. And now finally, this is my current sketchbook that is not full yet. I've got about 20 of these. And oops, sorry. And what I realized very early on in the 90s was that I was looking at everybody else's sketchbooks, like, Adam Hughes and guys like that. And they were doing like really cool drawings in them. And I was like doing stick figures in mine. I was like, I got to up my game. And then I saw the movie Crumb. I don't know if you guys saw that documentary on Robert Crumb. He traded like 3 of his sketchbooks for a house in France. And I'm like, yeah, baby. Not that my stuff will ever be worth that much, but you start thinking, if I'm going to do something in a sketchbook, I don't want someone flipping through my sketchbook after I'm dead going, wow, this really blows. So I tried to, put a little bit more effort into the stuff I was doing in my sketchbooks. And you'll find in this is where you find the heart of Aaron. It's all like trolls. Oh, well, you're going to find a nice little beautiful woman drawing in there. But a lot of trolls, elves, monsters. I'm just, man, again, being a product of the 70s, this is what was hot when I was growing up. The Tolkien stuff, Conan, Edgar Rice Burroughs is making a comeback in the 70s. These are mostly colored pencil drawings. That's some sort of weird dragon thing. Grumpy Old Men. My mom's always like, why are you always drawing these ugly old men? And I'm like, because they're fun. They're fun to draw. Some of these actually made it into, there's a Bigfoot drawing for you. Some of these actually made it into my last hardcover sketchbook I did a couple years ago. It's called Raw Imagination. 20 years of sketches. Sold out now, sorry. Little Viking guy. Another, troll, elfy, giant looking dude with pointy ears. Ooh, Wonder Woman snuck in there. Sometimes you just want to draw a pretty face. And then you want to draw that right after you draw a pretty face. I am fascinated by ugly people. Not sure what that is. And then you got a gnarly old tree. Again, something you might find in Lord of the Rings or something. There's my daughter. I had a friend tell me a long time ago when I was in commercial art, draw your kids as much as you can when they're little because they grow up so fast. And I did. And then, of course, here's Rey from Star Wars, which I thought, oh, she'll be a popular character. I guess I was wrong about that. There's another grumpy old man with pointy ears, kind of a Viking troll-looking dude. That's a rock character from a fantasy. I do have an IP that I would like to do, but I'm not sure that anybody would buy it. So here it sits. Early Merv, maybe? I don't know. Where's my daughter again? That's a nice one. I like that one. Pizza guy, I have no idea why I drew this. It was just ballpoint pen exercise is what it says. So I just thought, what can I draw with a ballpoint pen without, any underdrawing? A little fairy drawing on pencil. That's nice. That's cute. I like that. Now these are all they all look like midgets. No offense. These guys ended up being very kind of short and squat, but these were character designs, real quick character designs for Wraith of God. And what their clothes were going to look like. And these are all characters from the first Wraith of God. It's the gambler. And then the bear. Those of you who watched Graybeard Studio, I did this horrible bear. I was trying to do Brave and some characters from Brave, and the bear I did in the drawing was terrible. So I went back and kind of to prove that I could do it the right way. So there's a bear drawing. There's an ugly old troll and an ugly old man down here. I just did this the other night, just for recreation. This is it's not the old witch from EC because she doesn't have the big eye, but it's pretty similar concept-wise. But yeah, it's just an old witch. And then I did this, I don't know, red-haired girl with colored pencil, just, messing around. So my goal in life is that when I pass away, you go to my estate sale, you find these sketchbooks and go, whoa, I got to have one of these. So that's what I'm trying to do anyway. And actually put some ideas in there that I'll actually use at some point. Probably not a bad idea either. And there I am again. Citizen Ron says that bear is judging me. Trying to be Aaron Blase. The hair is odd. Look, Brie Larson, Snow White Witch. Erase Ray a bit there and you'd have a decent Luke from 77. That's good. Creative Face saying, do the fantasy story. Yeah, well, we'll see. Oh, is Phil in the chat? They're saying Phil Diaz making an appearance. Oh, you're talking about in the sketchbook. Yeah. Tim F. Thank you very much. Lepresi's fantasy art is so damn good. Thank you. I do. I've got big. I really enjoy that genre. I loved Weird Worlds. You guys, not the comic I just showed you, but you remember? Well, Mike Plug did the first one, and I got an original hanging on my wall from that book. Marvel Premiere 32, I think, where there was all elves and dragons and stuff. It was a very much kind of a Lord of the Rings type thing that Doug Mensch wrote and created, I guess. And Plug originally drew it, and then John Buscema drew it for the Marvel Super Special, which was a full color magazine. It was called Warriors of the Shadow Realm. And I got a page from that too up on my wall. But anyway, fantasy stuff like that, I really enjoy it, but I just don't know. I don't know if the audience is really there. Maybe. But see, that's the thing. It's like, do I stop doing Wraith of God so I can do a fantasy book that may or may not sell? I took a chance doing Kit Carter and stepping away from Wraith of God for an issue, but it worked out okay, sure. And it's going to be a great book. And those of you who have not backed it should think about it. You'll find the link in the description of this video for Kit Carter Planet Doom. But then we go back to Wraith of God 3, Fear Hollow, right after Kit Carter. So that'll be in June sometime. And then we'll see. I've got at least a couple more Wraith of God books that I want to do. So we'll see. Fox Mulder for $10. Thank you, Fox. Really appreciate that. Have you ever received offers or pursued one yourself to illustrate a fantasy or horror novel, whether a reprint of classic work or something more recent? No one's ever given me the offer. I've thought about grabbing rights and doing it myself, doing because I like doing spot illustrations because they're kind of halfway between comic art and commercial illustration, right? So you're telling a story in a picture, but you're still doing a single illustration to capture a moment in time or a portion of a story. And I really like that. And again, a lot of guys that I grew up admiring, Wrights and Frazetta, that's the kind of stuff they were doing too. And so it's kind of like, as a kid, I was like, oh, I want to grow up and be like them. I want to do that. So it's still in my DNA, I guess, that I like to do that. David Brohaco, break yourself fool, pack, #drive-by. David's always good for saying something that I'm not exactly completely streetwise on. But there he is, David Williams, one of the most talented artists I know. And he's working on a book called Fearsome with Ethan Van Sciver that is not linked in this video. But if you go to Indiegogo, they have not shadow banned it, and you actually can find it and sign up for it. I highly recommend it if you have not checked it out. The artwork is stellar. The concept sounds like it's really cool. But if you want to back my book, Kit Carter Planet Doom, you would actually have to use the link in the description of this video because I am shadow banned, because that's just the kind of person I am. People love to hate me. I'm like Howard Cosell. Anyway, so there it is. We'll do this real quick. Kit Carter Planet Doom, 64-page graphic novel, hardcover and softcover edition. There's the hardcover. There's the softcover by my buddy Chris Stevens. Great painting. Looks kind of pulpish, kind of really cool and weird looking. And that's exactly what I wanted him to do. And he pulled off magnificently. The hardcover does have an art gallery in it that the softcover won't have. And the hardcover, of course, comes signed and numbered, and it's a limited edition where the paperback will be, or the softcover will be readily available, or more readily available. We're always printing to numbers, but we always overprint a little bit so that there's extra there. Here's some of the interior art, inks by Matt Ryan, who inked me for years over at DC and Marvel. Tremendous inker. Look at that. Colors by Kelsey Shannon. The book just looks fantastic. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I'm not doing everything, so it's not like I really am. But it does. The artwork's really good, and I think the story is just fun, and I think you'll really enjoy it. There's the back cover by our own Dan Lawless. That's one of the pieces that'll be in the gallery section in the hardcover by Gary Martin, colored by Kelsey there. Tribute to Frazetta Buck Rogers stuff, which we looked at earlier in this very same episode. This will be in there. That was my first cover, but I changed my mind, and that'll be in color in the gallery section. You can get a t-shirt, either black or teal. You can get this sketchbook, which is also, the book is 8.5 by 11. So it's a little bit oversized, so it plays the art better. It looks nicer on your bookshelf. And it'll also fit in your magazine comic book boxes if you have to do that. But you can put it on your bookshelf. This is the 8.5 by 11 Kit Carter sketchbook that has all the material that developmental material I've done on Kit Carter since 2011 when I first came up with it. And this will also be 8.5 by 11. You can get the movie poster, which, I'm going to start painting that next week. Look out. This is the color study, not the finished painting for the insert movie poster. It'll be 14 by 36. So it basically, who can save the universe before lunch? Kit Carter, Galactic Ranger in Planet Doom, rated PG. You can get a shot glass. Look at all the stretch goals. We got 4 trading cards unlocked, 2 of them by David Williams. And then there's an early sign-up card by David Williams as well. So there's 3 cards available by David Williams, 2 by me. You can get the Garbage Man trade paperback or the Power Cube trade paperback if you want to be a completist and get all the stuff that ties into Empire Comics, the Lopresti-verse. You want to get those. If you missed Wraith of God, you can get the second printing. It has a new cover on it. Very cool. Or if you missed Blood Hunters, which is Wraith of God 2, all covers are still available for order. There's a couple pieces of original art floating around in there too. So there's all kinds of different perks. There's the Kit Carter Completist, where you get everything in the campaign and an original head sketch of Kit. It's a pretty good deal on there, and various different things you can put together and add on to place your order. So again, you'll find the link in the description of this video. Check it out. I think you'll dig it. Okay. Enough about me. Well, it's never enough about me because gosh darn it, it's my show. Okay, so let's move on to bigger, and I don't know if they're better things, but they're certainly things not of this world, or maybe they are of this world, and we just need more proof for us to fully understand what we're looking at. Ladies and gentlemen, it is of course time for something we haven't done in a couple of weeks, and I got to tell you, I'm missing it just a little bit. Yes, this is the portion of the show where we look at videos where strange people take pictures of strange things and expect us to believe that they're real. So let's see. Maybe we've got something this week. But now this is a Canadian Bigfoot. So I know we have some Canucks in the audience. Maybe they can help us out with this. Okay. Let us silence the audio. Let us play this clip of, obviously, this is what we're looking at right here, right there, in the Canadian woodlands someplace. It's snowing. Now, do you not get the feeling that picture is just rocking back and forth, that it's like a couple of images that they just kept rolling back and forth? I mean, what are we really getting out of this? Is he doing a dance step? Yes. Is it a large hairy animal? Is it a bear? Is it a dude in a costume? Is it a guy with his mom's rug over the top of him? I don't know. It always troubles me. The image is fairly clear. I mean, but it always troubles me that these video clips are like 3 seconds long. It's like, are you afraid to show us more because then we'll figure out that it really is fake? I don't know what what we're trying to understand here. Well, there's your Bigfoot cam. How about that? Blue Boy Comics says that's a hairy woman. Rachel Brinkley, Rachel's a Canuck. How about that? That's right. Kevin Thomas says, in search of with the poor man's Spock, Aaron Lopresti. That's me. Black bear. He's saying that's totally a black bear. That's a hairy hoser. Bear rubbing his back on a tree. Dr. Tongue's third house of beef. I don't even know what that means, but thank you, Paul, for sharing. I have, Kevin. Someone sent me some of this stuff. It might have been you. Sasquatch. Yeah. Bigfoot playing soft rock covers in the woods on it. Yes. I've seen some of that. Yes. Yeah. It's like, I love how they pull out to show us guy watching on the iPad. I'm not really sure what the point of that was, but it's it was an old SCTV skit. I used to watch SCTV when I was a kid. That's right, Dr. Tongue's right. Third house of those horses. Joe Flaherty was dressed up as Dracula, whatever, and he would introduce the movies that weren't really scary. Okay, now this is Bigfoot at night, so be prepared for fuzziness and grain. Of course, no location on this one. He uploaded the footage from his YouTube channel. Of course he did. Let's see what he uploaded. So we're looking over here. See the pointy arrows. There it is. There it is. Boy. Not sure I'm buying that. Let's take a look again here and see what we're seeing. Okay. Wait, slow down. Hang on. Is he got a short sleeve thing on? Right there. What is going on right there with that arm? What is going on right here? And that looks like a short sleeve or some padding or something. And what's this hanging down here? It's like a skirt or something. Is that a leg? I guess that's his leg. I don't know. Is that reflection? Is that a bad costume? At least we've got the arrows to tell us where to look. I mean, it's not horrible in the sense that we actually can see something and it looks hairy. Let's see. Comic Crazy Lingua. What does he say? That was an unshaven EJ. Oh, no, we're not going to make fun of anybody on this show, except me. Let's see. Richie Dupe. All of these, look, we got squirrels playing though. These are, isn't it funny when they show actually real wildlife, how clear the picture gets? Richie Dupe says all these videos are real. Okay, they're saying light reflection, so it's not. He's wearing a short sleeve shirt. Wizard Sleeve says Bigfoot with mange. Where the wild things are. Jay wants to know why his dad is in Canada. Outtake from Troll Hunter. All right. Speaking of Troll Hunter, there's the very first Troll Hunter movie. You know, it was like in Sweden or whatever. And I think it's subtitled. That's pretty good. Then there was that Netflix show, Troll Hunter, which everybody said was so great. I thought it sucked. I thought it was horrible. I thought it was terrible. Just saying. Angela says that was an unshaven Aaron. I don't think that's very nice. That's for you, Angela, for making fun of the host. Yeah, okay, but Troll Hunter movie is great. We're talking about the original one, right? Because it is. You're not talking about that Netflix one, because the Netflix one sucks. And I probably should. Didn't I do a review of that? I think I did, but yeah, it had some problems. Okay, now this is the Bigfoot stroll. Okay, so I guess it's Bigfoot. We have a lot of Bigfoots this week. Normally, I don't fall or come across that many Bigfoot videos for one show because they're hard to find ones we haven't already watched. All right, so let's take a look at the Bigfoot stroll here. There he is. You see him back there. He's moving briskly. Okay, so that's definitely not a bear. So that's definitely either a Sasquatch or a dude in a costume. I don't believe that's CGI or anything. I just think that's a dude in a costume. But not a bad effort. He kind of looks at the camera right there. Did you see that? Kind of right there. And you can't see anything except, total darkness. So you get no detail. See a little bit of the side of his face right there. But again, is the posture too casual? He's got his head down, just kind of doop-de-doop-de-doo. I don't know. These guys, if you're going to, again, we talk about this every week, but man, if you're going to do this, give me some performance. Put some effort into it. Make me want to believe that you're a monkey man. Go Planet of the Apes on me, for crying out loud. What is going on here? And then he disappears behind the trees. There we just saw his leg. This guy's like, do you believe it? I don't think he believes it. He wants me to believe it, so I'll click like, but I don't think he believes it. The question is, do you guys believe it? Because you are the most discerning audience on the interwebs. I don't know. You know how bouncy he is? It's kind of like doop de doop de doo. I don't know. I'm not sure what would convince me of a Bigfoot walk, but this isn't doing it. That I can tell you. Sniper with the wrong suit. Let's see. War Habits. He's not having any of this. He's saying that's a dude in a costume. Look how he's watching his feet like he's not used to walking in the woods. Exactly. That's the kind of detective work we need on this show, War Habit. Thank you. Angela Curry's giving them props for no jiggly camera, and I will agree with her on that. Yeah, I expect if you're gonna, I am gonna do one. I will do my own big video. It'll be the most convincing thing you've ever seen. It'll be totally fake. I'm a college football fan, Justin Side. I don't have a pro team to root for, so I'm sort of ambivalent. I like to watch a good game. I'm recording the game just in case it's a good game. Let's see. Captain Bipto says, when Bigfoot turns hostile on the cameraman and the police post the video, then I'll believe it. Exactly. Actually, Harry and the Hendersons is probably the best Bigfoot video I've ever seen. The great Rick Baker, of course, did that costume. All right, here we go. Now, this is something I'm titling. We're going to go away from Bigfoot for a minute, but this is something I titled Skinwalker or Naked Guy on Drugs. You tell me. Skinwalker or Naked Guy on Drugs. Here we go. The fact that the dude has hair makes me think this is Naked Guy on Drugs. The video is blurry enough that we can't, he looks skinnier than maybe he actually is, and maybe they did some doctoring of the video. I have no freaking idea, but that is a skinny, naked guy on drugs. Vespa guy says, is it in Florida? If it's in Florida, it's a naked guy on drugs. Naked guy on bath salts. I am not talking about the Guillermo del Toro Troll Hunter series on It Isn't As Bad as Aaron Says That. I'm talking about, it was a Troll Hunter movie. It was a newer version of the Troll Hunter where the guy's daughter was a whatever she was, scientist, and they went to visit the old guy, and the troll came out of the mountain and it was made of rocks, and they had like this like the intelligence meeting room, and it was like a bad Godzilla film for a while, and the dialogue was atrocious. And anyway, they end up using like mirrors or something from the sun to because on a cloudy day it doesn't affect them, but the sun does, or something like that. I thought that was dumb. Sorry. But it was a single movie. It wasn't a television show. This is not a skinwalker. Okay. This isn't even a good skinwalker. This is a nude guy, or maybe a nude girl, with the hair. I don't know. It's a ballsy maneuver to go crawling around your neighborhood naked, but again, not a lot of effort in terms of convincing me that this isn't somehow some sort of weird nakedness on drugs, or someone who lost a bet, which, Pastmaster Dan's all over it. I mean, that is definitely a human body. His feet are too far apart to be anything but human, of course. Squib says, this is why we need more police. Couldn't agree more. Rocking a onesie. Now, he could be in a onesie, rather that would keep him from, or her from exposing themselves. Troll 2. Was there a Troll 2? All I know is there was a Netflix movie a year or two ago. Everybody, it got it's like on Rotten Tomatoes, got like 85%. And everybody loved it. And I was like, this is a piece of crap. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Okay. So now let's go back up to Canada. And allegedly, let's take a look at Ogo Pogo, not to be confused with the band Oingo Boingo. That would have been for the earlier segment, but this is an interesting shot of what they're trying to convince me is Ogo Pogo, which is basically Canadians' Loch Ness Monster. Yeah, let's see here. Okay, watch carefully over there on the left-hand side. There he is. There he is. Swimming around. There's a tail. There it is. Is that just a big fish? What is that? You Canadians, let me know. What kind of a big fish do they have up there? And I assume this is a lake someplace. It's got a big old tail, obviously. I'm going to assume it's real. So assuming it's real, what are we looking at here? Certainly it's not a sea monster. It's just a big fish, right? Or is it? Troll versus the Howling. Yeah, it's Lake Okanagan, but isn't it Ogopogo? Isn't that what the name of the monster is? Am I wrong? Sturgeon says Comic Crazy Lindquist or Lindquico 89. Wow, that's a hard one. That's narwhal. Okay, a narwhal in a lake. There's not a tippy tail. Come on, there's not a narwhal in a lake. Indiana is sturgeon. Looks like sturgeon. Beluga whale. Probably, if it's in a Canadian lake, it couldn't be a beluga whale. That's a big pike, says Rachel Brinkley, and she's a Canuck. She would know. Okay, Paul's saying, look at the size of the tailfin. Okay, I'm looking at the size of the tailfin, Paul, but what does that tell me? You're a biologist. What does that tell me? Apex is saying plesiosaur all the way. Let's take another look. As I'm reading these chats, let's take another look. A War Habit says it looks like a whale and it looks pretty real. It does look real. The question is, what is it? Giant carp. They get big here in Michigan. Giant carp. Carps don't get that big, do they? Why is it so grainy? You know why it's so grainy. Okay, we're talking about troll too. Yeah, the troll. Yeah, I've seen scenes from that. It's atrocious. But we're talking not little trolls, but giant trolls. And we keep going back to the Swedish troll film. They're saying sturgeon, good eating, but they're protected. Well, wait a minute. If they're protected, how do you know they're good eating? What are you breaking the law up there in Canada? Get yourself in trouble. Okay, here we go. There's the tail again. Boom. That's a big fish, whatever it is. Captain Bipto says he's going with Lizzo here. Definitely a mermaid, says Pantheon 100%. Eel, says Mighty Joe. Mighty Joe, you're higher than a kite, man. It's not an eel. Eels don't have tails like that. Wizard sleeves, good point. Sturgeons are black, but are Canadian sturgeons black? Alligator gar, that's an interesting take right there. Now, if you watch River Monsters, that dude's always catching like gooches, which are those giant catfish, and gars. Camera tricks, says Angela Curry, says the whole thing's fake. Namer with a fin. Apex is all over the place. He says, we eat lake sturgeon in Wisconsin, so they're not protected in Wisconsin, but apparently they are in Canada. Moromi saying, nope, too cold for alligator gar. Okay. Pregnant carp, belly swollen. Wizard sleeves is pushing the carp. Carps don't get that big, do they? Oh. Past Master Dan says he's seen a 65-pound carp. Really? Wow. Eric and Boyd is saying this video is fishy. Now look at this. Tim, you guys are making stuff up. Pale snakehead. What is that? Is that your Indian name? Come on. Pale snakehead. What does that even mean? Sorry, no offense to Native Americans out there. One of those dog people. Rachel Brady's saying, I'm standing with the Northern Pike. Okay. Rachel is speaking with Canadian authority that makes me want to believe what she's telling me. So I'm going to go that direction. She says Canadian Pike. She says BC lakes are filled with them bastards. Okay. I think that may be our definitive answer. Now, our final video of the day. I can already tell you what I think of this, but I'm sharing it anyway because I'll tell you why. Because it means something to me from my childhood. Is this what we used to call in the good old days a pterodactyl? Now they're pteranodons. The wings are moving. So is this some sort of high-end flying toy, or is it just totally fake? Or is it a video of a bird and they added stuff to it? What do you guys think? Look at that. This guy is well schooled in B movies. He says Q, of course, that was the giant flying lizard movie with David Carradine and was David Carradine in that? And the original guy that was in Law and Order. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Before Sam Waterston was there, the guy he was in that. And look at that. You ever see these weird commercials? I don't even know what these things are. Some sort of weird video game thing. But anyway, now the reason I find this mildly interesting is that when I was a kid, there was this book, book through Scholastic, right? We used to get like these little order sheets every like twice a year or something. And we could order like books, and then they would, ship the books to us, and we'd order. It was really cool. And there was this book by Walt Disney Studios, artists from Walt Disney Studios. It was called Animal Ghosts. I still have it someplace tucked away from like second grade, and had really great dinosaur illustrations in it, black and white. It was like one of those, those book order books. And there was a drawing in there of a pteranodon or something like that. They called it pterodactyl. And they were saying that these things had been seen in South America because that's where all the dinosaurs still live, because that's the only place where the jungle is thick enough and it's hot enough that you can say there's dinosaurs there, and people can't really refute it because, it's so much of it is unexplored. So anyway, that was like the rumor. I was a kid and I was like, wow. And of course I believed everything I read back then. Now I believe nothing that I read, but so it was just complete opposite. And so I was like, I had these visions as I was a kid that maybe these things are still alive in some capacity. Of course they're probably not, but this is interesting too. The pelican, that's what I originally thought was the pelican, but he's got the thing coming off the back of his head, so that thing right there. So that kind of kills that. I think the whole thing is fake is what I think. And he's with me. Oh, Scholastic. Before they went woke, there was no such thing as woke in 1972. Okay. Kelraiser says wings look really rigid. I agree. Not Jerry Orbach. No, the DA guy before Sam Waterston. He was in Q. He was balding. Doggone it. What was that guy's name? The drunk guy. No, not the drunk guy. Or maybe in real life he was a drunk guy. I don't know. Paul Taylor said, that's cool, but it's fake. Paul would know. He's a biologist. Mighty Joe says, yes, carp get huge. Video of one jumping out of the water almost swallows a dog. Okay, well that's what I'm thinking. It's like a pterodactyl drone or something, or a pteranodon drone or something. Can none of you guys tell me what that guy's name was in Law and Order and was in Q? Interesting point. Where the wing, you're right. Where the wing attaches at the talon should be moving as well. You are correct. That is correct. So we have debunked this. Thank you, Moriarty, Michael Moriarty. There it is. Thank you, Gen X Catholic with a Mel Gibson icon there. Michael Moriarty. He was. And here's an interesting story you probably don't want to hear, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So Michael Moriarty was in Q. And Rex Reed told this story. Rex Reed, of course, he's got to be dead now, isn't he? Famous New York Times film critic, big in the 60s and 70s. And he went and saw this movie, and he ran into William Castle, who produced the movie as a low-budget producer. You might remember him from Vincent Price in The Tingler. But anyway, so he said, he was talking to him after the film, the big debut of the film. He says, Rex Reed says to him, he goes, that movie, Q, he says, it has this great method performance by Michael Moriarty surrounded by all this schlock. And William Castle goes, the schlock was my idea. So I thought that was what a great way to, you know, return fire at a critic. That was great. So yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. Michael Moriarty was a drunk and got booted off the show. Okay, there you go. And he was in Superman the movie. Okay. I guess he was, wasn't he? Okay. There you have it. How about that? All right, you guys, that's all I got for you. So I'm thinking that we probably got at least a good hour left of the Super Bowl that I know you guys are, you know, want to go catch the end of that. Can you play it at half speed? Oh, the Pteranodon. I think we've already worn that sucker out. I want to thank everybody for joining me. This has been great fun, as it always is when we do this. We do it every Sunday right here at 4 o'clock live. Most of the time we have Shelley Showtime with us, but she's been going through a few things, but hopefully we're getting her back on track and feeling better, and she'll be a regular once again on the show. You'll see me on Comicsgate Kings most Monday nights. Tuesday nights are professionals on a rotating basis. And Wednesday, make sure you check out Graybeard's Studio, the best draw stream on the internet. That's at 2 o'clock on Wednesday afternoons, right here on this channel. Please hit the like and subscribe. Help the channel grow. Helps me to feel important. And if you haven't backed Kit Carter Planet Doom, please follow the link in the description of this video. Take a jaunt over there. See if it's something that might be interesting to you. And I want to thank all you guys for participating with me. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for all the great witty comments. And enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll see you right here next week on Aaron Live. Good night, everybody.